Welcome back to College Football Addiction. Jake Hatch on with us. Locked on BYU, locked on Cougs. Am I wrong? We are all over the place here, right?
Locked on Cougars, locked on Cougs, locked on BYU. It's been called all of that in its history.
Yeah.
We're good.
We'll get you to the right place if you search any of those. Like you will land on the right channel. And that channel will feature talk of the game of the week here. If I had told you before the season that this would be the game of the week, I don't know if you'd have been shocked, but like Alabama LSU is still this week. There's other stuff going on. But for the second time this year, this is the game of the week. And man, what a fun one. We talked about this. We've talked about this before, but just the contrasting styles of BYU and Texas Tech, the way that, not that BYU doesn't use the portal, but just the way that their programs feel. It feels like you're a blue collar guy. And then you're like, dude, I'm driving a limousine or I'm driving a sports car here, and nothing wrong with either one of them. It makes it more intriguing to me, but just the contrasting styles of these two programs, it makes this fun before we even start talking about the game.
No, you're absolutely right. The philosophies for both of these programs, they are different because BYU sees themselves as more of a developmental program, whereas Texas Tech went very heavy in the portal. But I think, TJ, it's proven that neither method is wrong. They can work out if you get the right dudes in the right places. And both the Red Raiders and the Cougars appear to have done that because there's a reason why both of them are ranked in the top 10.
Yeah, their ranking last night was interesting. I'll tell you what was more interesting than the BYU ranking and more interesting than the Texas Tech ranking was the Utah ranking to me. Because it feels like the College Football Playoff Committee, we're going to talk about the game too, I promise. It feels like the College Football Playoff Committee pigeonholed BYU and Texas Tech into the top 12 at worst.
Yeah, no, I think that they see both of these as very much college football playoff contenders. But you mentioned Utah. Utah's at 13. They only have to move up a handful of spots, and they got 3 games left that I expect they're going to win all 3 of them. And them at 10-2, they're absolutely going to be in the mix there. And the good news is, if you're a Big 12 fan, I guess I'll just add this on, is the fact that all 3 of the ranked Big 12 teams, all in front of every team from the ACC. So it shows that the Big 12's getting some extra respect this season.
Yeah, the brands in the Big 12, all 3 of them, right? Like the ones we kind of expect to do well, certainly carrying more weight than the brands in the ACC, where the top 2 brands are pathetic this year. And then the maybe the third biggest brand in Miami is on a 2 out of 3 losing streak in their last month of play. And so, yeah, our buddy Drake will be super jazzed about the, no pun intended on the jazz comment there, but super jazzed about the Big 12 love for sure, especially when it comes at the expense of my conference. On to the actual game here. Thoughts on Bachmeier going on the road and playing, let's face it, the best team that they've played so far this year. Do you expect any kind of, it's not his first game, but it is his first game in maybe an atmosphere like this with the stakes like this?
Yeah, the stakes are high, but I'm telling you, I've been expecting to see the cracks kind of in the foundation for him multiple times this season, and he hasn't shown a single one of them. It just doesn't feel like he gets caught up in the moment. This is a kid who seems just to love to play the game of football. He's got a quiet confidence about him. There's absolutely that, because you don't play the level of play that he's playing at as a quarterback without having confidence in your skills and your ability. But he doesn't lack for I think that confidence, but he's not also going to go out there and be like, wow, this is crazy. No, he's played in some pretty raucous environments already. I think Iowa State was very, very raucous.
Yeah.
He handled it just fine. So I don't think that's going to affect him in this game. I think the bigger thing that's going to affect him is the fact that they have a ferocious front 7, speaking of Texas Tech.
Yeah. And what is the, what is the BYU strategy? I'm not expecting you to know the game plan there, but if you're calling the defense, or I'm sorry, the offense there, is it to try and get the ball out of his hands faster? Is it to run right at those guys? Is it a mixture of, I don't want to say trick plays, but just more eye candy that you try and get them to play on their heels instead of toes? Like, well, what is the method you try to attack a defense like that with? I'll get right back to the video, but first, let me remind you about our friends over at Sleeper. Make sure that you are using the Sleeper app this college football season, whether you're playing in your eliminator leagues, whether you're playing fantasy football, or whether you're playing the more or less game to make some money with us. You can still deposit on Sleeper and get a 100% match up to $100 by using our code CFA. If you just want to click the link in the description, that'll autofill the code for you. It'll download the app and autofill the code. You don't have to do any work. Put your info in. Play the more or less game with us. Go get the free plays and make some money with us. Make sure that you read their terms and conditions because terms of use do apply. Appreciate Sleeper for their support here on College Football Addiction.
I think the easy answer is everything you just mentioned. I think we talked.
Sorry to steal your answer.
Well, no, the point is well taken because LJ Martin, he's going to play in this game, but Aaron Roderick said it himself in media availability earlier this week that he's not 100% certain what he's going to get out of LJ. So if I don't expect LJ to be anywhere near 100%, he's going to go out there and do his absolute best. But yeah, you're going to have to tell Bear, hey, this is a game that you've got maybe 2.5 seconds. Make your first read, make your second read. If you don't see it, tuck it and try and figure it out on the fly. Because I'm telling you, David Bailey, Jacob Rodriguez, Ben Roberts, the guys that they can bring off the edge here, speaking of Texas Tech, they will get on you in a hurry. And I also expect BYU, they'll use max protect concepts. They'll bring in guys like Carson Ryan, who may sacrifice chances to catch balls, but he'll be in there to protect a guy like Bear because you got to keep him upright as much as possible because he is absolutely the linchpin of what BYU needs to do if they want to pull off this win.
Do you think the spread is disrespectful?
Disrespectful is strong. I do think it's kind of crazy that it's almost 10 points. I saw 9.5 was the last I saw from FanDuel, and that seems a little bit high to me. I think it's a one-score game, so maybe more in the 7.5 realm in my world, but here's BYU's history with the spread over the last 1.5 seasons. TJ's, they have routinely been an underdog. I can remember, and I use this all the time as an example. Last season, BYU was undefeated going to UCF, who was sub 500, and somehow, some way, the odds makers made BYU an underdog in said game.
I enjoyed that. Just let me tell you, I was very thankful for that one.
I think a lot of people did. And I can tell you just talking to players that week at BYU, they were beyond upset. But I think they've kind of just internalized, you know what? If you want to keep disrespecting us, we'll just keep winning. They're 19-2 over their last 21 games. They know how to win football games in spite of what the odds makers say.
Yeah, no, I'm a Tampa guy, and so fairly close to UCF, and I was much thankful for that. So maybe I can clean up again this weekend. What about Texas Tech's rushing attack? BYU obviously good there too. Yeah. Texas Tech have the best rushing attack in the Big 12 though.
The 1-2 tandem of the running backs sure appears that way. And the way they ran the ball, especially in the second half against Kansas State, I was absolutely floored. And remember, they lost Joyner, the kid who transferred from USC in training camp. And there was the thought that was going to really kind of downgrade their rushing attack. And to Texas Tech's credit, they have found ways to manufacture a really, really strong run game. And it's going to be a problem for BYU. Programs like Iowa State have gashed BYU in the run. You can go back and watch that Iowa State game. Carson really gashed them multiple times in that game, and they're going to have to find a way to shore that up. They've got to be much better with their gap integrity, and if they do that, they'll give themselves a fighting chance, but it's much easier said than done.
Morton starting this game, obviously, but he feels like high risk, high reward to me. Certainly can make spectacular plays. Can also leave you scratching your head if you're a Red Raiders fan. How capable is BYU of cashing in on potential mistakes?
Well, so the funny thing about these two defenses, they both are turnover-heavy defenses, but they do it in different ways because Texas Tech likes to punch the ball out, like to force fumbles, whereas BYU, they're plus 10 in the margin, and a lot of them have come via interceptions. So I think that BYU will try and give Baron Morton looks in terms of disguising coverages and the like in the hopes that he throws an inopportune ball and they can pick it off and obviously get a big turnover that way, and we'll see how that plays out. But I do think that BYU's intent, and this is kind of the way the defense is built, is to take away the run game and force this game onto the arm of Baron Morton, because you mentioned he's a bit of a high-risk, high-reward type guy, and if you force that game onto his arm, yeah, he may beat you, and he may have a good day throwing the football, but I think BYU will take their chances with that versus getting gashed in the run game.
Yeah, 100%. If they beat you with their secondary punch, you got to tip your cap and say, hey, man, we'll see you in Arlington and see if we can do something different, or if you just don't have as good of a day. Correct. But you can't let them beat you doing what they prefer, because if they do, it seems like a long day. If there was, I'll let you pick either side of this. So is there a number offensively that you would feel confident, hey, if BYU scores X, they'll win? Or is there a number defensively? If BYU holds Texas Tech to X, I think they'll win. You pick either side of it.
I will say offensively, if they can score 30 plus, they'll win this football game. And I'm telling you, that number may seem low in some people's minds, but I'm telling you, this Texas Tech defense is absolutely the best one BYU has faced to date. And they're elite. They're very, very good. And BYU's got their hands full trying to beat that defense in terms of with their offense. But if they can get to 30 points offensively, I think they give themselves a pretty good chance.
What's the biggest advantage that BYU has in this game?
I think the biggest thing is BYU's been in scenarios like this a lot this season where they have been that underdog and they've had people counting them out. And they've also had the big game pressure. They already had big noon kickoff in Provo not that long ago. So they've been in these scenarios multiple times over the past season and a half. And I think that the whole mentality for this BYU team is they know how quickly things slipped away a season ago. They started 9-0. They beat Utah, then lost back-to-back games in pretty poor fashion to Kansas and Arizona State. And those tiebreakers cost them their chance of playing for a Big 12 title. They know how quickly and how slim the margins are, and they're intent on not repeating that this year. So I think they're going to go into this game understanding it's a business trip. They got to focus on the here and now and handle their business in Lubbock.
I'm not letting you get out of here without talking basketball for just a moment. But before I get into that, do BYU fans, are they able to, so like as FSU, like our football team's terrible, basketball just has a new coach, which there is excitement around, but they haven't transitioned over. Are BYU fans able to just spin both ways, or is it like it's football season, we'll get to that in a minute, or what are the thoughts there?
I think that they have all kind of bought in. If you watched BYU season opener down in Las Vegas, they played Villanova as part of that Hall of Fame series.
Yeah.
I had multiple buddies of mine in the media corps that were down there in Vegas, and they thought that 60% of the crowd is BYU fans. And now that's obviously an impressive thing because T-Mobile Arena down there in Vegas holds like 17,000 people, so that's a good representation. The one thing I have always appreciated about BYU fans is their diehards for BYU. It's not just BYU football. It's not just BYU basketball. Some of them may have that dichotomy, but the vast majority of them, they're there for Brigham Young University, no matter what the sport is. So they're going to represent.
It's cheating a little bit because you've already seen them start. So you're not really calling your shot, but you are mostly calling your shot. Where does BYU finish this year?
Speaking of basketball,
yeah, sorry.
I'm going to say Elite Eight. Here's the thing: they want to make a Final Four, and BYU's never made a Final Four before in their history. They have dreams of that. And AJ DeBonsa said it himself: the floor for this BYU team in his mind is the Sweet 16. And that's some pretty high. That's pretty high bar because BYU in their past 40 plus years has made the Sweet 16 exactly 3 times, including this past season. So if they can do that, TJ, they could do some pretty incredible things, but I'm going to call my shot and say the Elite Eight.
Every person that I've had on this week that we've talked about this game in any fashion, right? Sometimes I ask people about other games, even if they cover another team, if they maybe do a national show. Drake came on. We talked about this on my live show. Every person, including myself, hand to the sky, has picked Texas Tech. Are you going to break that streak?
Okay, I more and more about this. The heart says BYU. The head says Texas Tech. I'm going to go with my heart and my gut. I'm going to pick BYU 27, Texas Tech 25.
I like it. I would love to see it. What I really want, no matter who wins, I want to see them split the 2 games. I know BYU fans don't. Texas Tech fans don't. I want to go 2-0. I want to see them play twice, play 2 classics, split both of them, and go to the playoff. I know I sound like Brett Yormark saying that, but I think it'd be great.
I think you're dead on with that. In the Big 12's best interest is to have that exact scenario play out. In many respects, this is going to BYU fans are going to be unhappy I said this. It's best in my mind if BYU loses this game this week to Texas Tech, where both of them go into that Big 12 title game rematch 11-1, and then BYU wins there because both of them absolutely at that point should be locks to make it as an at-large.
Yep, 100%. Jake, where can people follow you, find your work, and what do you have coming over these next couple of days before kickoff?
Well, you and I have both talked to Drake. I talked to him, actually. We just played that episode yesterday, so check that out. It's daily BYU content. It's called Locked On Cougars. It's available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, and we've got a lot of action coming up. I had a great conversation with BYU defensive tackles coach Sione Puha earlier this week. It's going to be playing on tomorrow's edition of the show, so if you want unique content you can't find anywhere else about BYU, check out Locked On Cougars. You also can follow it on social media, Locked On Cougars, on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
We'll tag all that in the description. Go subscribe to the YouTube. We wouldn't have him on if he wasn't the best at covering BYU here on YouTube. Jake, thanks for hanging out. Good luck on Saturday.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me as always.